Hi, I'm Koji Yatani from University of Tokyo. I would like to share with you our work on exploring nudge designs to help adolescent SNS users avoid privacy and safety threats. This work was done in collaboration with industry partners of Nanameo Inc. and LINE Corporation. Social network services have become an integral part of modern life. This is more so for young and adolescent internet users. However, as SNS becomes more and more common, troubles and problems arise. According to the stats reported by the National Police Agency in Japan, the number of minor victims related to SNS is increasing. We therefore would like to investigate how interfaces can or should inform adolescent users of potentially risky activities in SNS. In particular, we are interested in examining how we can guide them to avoid such activities in the course of their interaction on SNS. We then looked into a nudge, a well-known concept in behavioral economics, which means a method of predictably influencing individual choices towards a more desirable options without taking away freedom of choice. In addition, we also considered a concept of social nudge, which is another kind of nudges to include information about what other people do. Prior research has found that social nudges can be more powerful to guide people to a particular decision. Thus, our research questions are follows. Would nudge help adolescent SNS users avoid privacy and safety threats? If so, what design of nudges would be more effective or less effective? By answering two research questions, our contributions are threefold. We conducted a large-scale online surveys with adolescent SNS users examining benefits of nudges for privacy safety-related scenarios. With the data obtained from our surveys, we conducted a statistical analysis using logistic regression to identify scenarios where particular designs of nudges are most and least useful. And we derived the design implications on nudges for protecting privacy and safety of adolescent SNS users from our results. Our study was basically large-scale A/B testing in interface design. We deploy our surveys on an online SNS platform called Himabu. Himabu was one of the largest SNS in Japan that primarily target students. Unfortunately, the service was terminated in December 2019. When the participant logged in, a pop-up window showed up to illustrate common scenarios on SNS, which could be risky. In the example shown in the right side, the pop-up shows a scenario where a user is going to post a picture on SNS. When we then ask the participants if they will commit to a particular action or not. In this example, we ask, would you upload a picture without getting a permission from your friends? The red rounded rectangle includes a nudge message. We changed nudge designs in a between subject manner, and I now would like to explain the nudge designs we studied. The first condition is none, which is one of the reference conditions where no nudge is included. We also use the data from this condition to generate the statistics we use in the condition with the social nudges, which I will explain soon. The next condition is nudge general, a nudge condition where general privacy safety related suggestions are included. In this example, the nudge says, your friend may dislike. And we have the nudge data condition where the stats of how many people who commit to a particular action are included in nudges. In the nudge data conditions, we included two different designs using affirmative and negative descriptions. Prior work suggested the framing effect of nudges, and we thus decided to study both designs in our study as well. In the example shown here, the nudge data do condition shows 12% of users would upload a picture, and the nudge data don't condition shows 88% of the users would not. The stats are based on the data we gathered in the none condition. Although measuring the effect of social nudges is one of the main objectives of our study, it may vary depending on the actual stats. For example, if 90% of the users who commit to a specific action, our participants may be swayed toward the potentially risky actions. To examine the effect by the magnitude of the skewness of the stats, we included the nudge dummy data conditions, where we deliberately included the fictitious data. We chose 5%, 10%, 25%, and 40% as the stats for affirmative descriptions or nudge dummy data do. In total, we had 12 conditions as shown here. We also chose 9 scenarios where adolescent users may encounter and be exposed to risks. We chose these scenarios based on our literature survey as well as interview studies with high school students on when they felt threatened. To collect the quantitative data, we ran our survey in summer 2019 on Himabu in a between subject manner. We collected about 38,000 responses, but after some filtering, we obtained 29,608 responses for our analysis. I am not going to the detail of the results here because they will be overwhelming in the slides. So please refer to our paper, but I would like to show you one example. In the scenario of would you meet a person online who you know for about a month in person? Our participants responded with yes at 44.7%. Roughly half of the people would commit to an action of meeting a person offline. What if we had a nudge with a general suggestion? The rate of yes responses decreased to 36.5%. What if we have a social nudge with a real data? The numbers were not promising compared to nudge general. Now the number was higher when we used the affirmative description compared to the negative description. The trend was similar in the social nudges with fictitious data. It did not seem that affirmative descriptions were effective. To statistically understand the effect, we ran logistic regression on the data. It models the probability of binary outcomes given explanatory values. Statistically significant explanatory variables suggest a strong chance of existence of influence by them. Here is the results of comparison between none and the rest of the condition, meaning that it examines the effect of existence of nudges. We found 6 positive cases and 1 negative case as shown here. You can also see that the 3 scenarios where we saw positive effects showed higher yes responses rate than the others in a non-condition. The 3 scenarios were about whether to meet or communicate with someone people knew only through SNS. We found that the participants are split in such cases. A nudge could be effective to let the participants choose privacy safety concern choices. In comparison against a nudge general, we found that affirmative descriptions led to negative effects in quite a few cases. This strongly suggests that the designers should not use affirmative descriptions in social nudges in any case. In comparison against a nudge general, we found that negative descriptions could lead to positive effect, but we did not find consistent results across the scenarios. By direct comparison between affirmative and negative, we found that the nudges with the negative descriptions had more positive effects. This suggests that if designer would like to use social nudges, negative framing should be used. Our results lead to 3 important takeaways. First, nudges with general suggestions or negative social nudges can be effective in scenarios where adolescent SNS users were split. Nudges would not be powerful in scenarios where a large majority of adolescent SNS users are already aware of privacy safety concern choices. And affirmative social nudges should be avoided for privacy safety promotion purposes in any design. There are several limitations we should mention in this study. In particular, we ran our study only in Himabu. The generalization to other kinds of SNS could be examined in the future work. Because of the hypothetical nature of the study, our study only investigated the participants' intentions, not actual decisions. However, prior work suggests a strong correlation between intentions and decisions, and our results that can be considered as a promising step. Thank you very much for listening to my talk, and if you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact me by email. Thank you.